Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 192, Working Remotely or Remotely Working. Recorded on Friday, April 1st, 2022 from Zenatta Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
All right, let's start with some news and events, announcements and events. Got some webinars coming up. Zoho is doing one on a focus group webinar integrating Zoho CRM and Zoho projects. They are also doing one, Migration Made Easy, hassle-free switch from Google to Zoho. It's put on by the Mail team. I might want to dip in on that one, see what kind of new stuff they've got there. Be interesting to see if they released any new tools or not. And then we have our Zoho projects full product tutorial coming up on April 19th. At 10 a.m. Pacific time. And then it looks like that's kind of it for events until our Zoho Books full product tutorial, which is going to be on May 17th at 10 a.m. Pacific time as well. And that's kind of what we got in events. But Tyler, before we get going, I just got an email. I can't believe it. Zoho Notebook now fully integrates with CRM for leads, contacts, deals. It's ridiculous. I can't believe
Almost too good to be true.
It is April Fool's. Anyway, just thought I'd get that in there. Have to do one April Fool's joke.
You got to do one.
All right.
Now you got it out of your system.
I got it out of my
The thing
system.
is, the joke is supposed to be believable, Brett. That's the problem.
Did I get you for even a minute?
No, I would never believe that it would be too easy. You know, if that integration ever came out, what would we talk about on the show?
I had a whole bunch coming out. I was going to do one where like, oh my God, Zoho just dropped 6 new apps today. You know, they had Zoho Me, which is their new social media platform. I was going to do that one. You know, Zoho Ozo, which is their TikTok platform that they're going to drop.
Very nice. Very nice. Got a list prepared.
Anyway.
Must have
That's all I. No, that was in the shower this morning. That's why I really didn't have time to put it all together. So anyway, all right. With that, let's get on into our news. All right, you now have some custom layouts that you can do in Zoho Sprints. So for those of you who aren't aware, Zoho Sprints is Zoho's agile development project management platform. And it looks like you can now do some custom layouts, Tyler, inside.
Yeah, it would be nice if you wanted to, the example they're saying here is, for your standard kind of project in sprints, maybe you wanted to add a custom field for project status or a custom field for project budget, right? So now you're basically just able to add in those custom fields and track any additional data about a project that you might need. So it's very nice. They've always been able to do this inside of Zoho projects. And we actually do it a lot. Things like having a WorkDrive link automatically right over there for some file management. Projects has the native fields to track budget and things like that. But we do find ourselves doing this a lot, auto creating some type of project or sprint. And, it'd be nice to be able to pass some additional custom data. So definitely a nice update there from the sprints team.
It's kind of different terminology though, because in CRM, custom layouts is you're basically, depending on if a field, if a box is checked or a field is open, it's changing what's actually on the screen at the time. So we're using different terminology with different applications here. But all right, fantastic. And then on the CRM side, Tyler, Zoho is continuing with some UI enhancements across the board. It's kind of nice. They're really kind of cleaning things up, making some small changes. Most of they've got them around mass transfer, delete, update, convert, email, draft, and deduplication actions. They're calling them duplication actions here, but they really mean deduplication actions. So they're really just nice little UI enhancements, cleaning things up, moving things around, giving it a much nicer look and feel across the board. Constant little tweaks and changes.
Yeah, they've kind of applied it as well for mass mail. So like rather than having to make your filters from the list view, you would kind of like start a mass mail or start a mass update action. It's going to pull you into this new interface where you're able to apply some filters and kind of make some selections about what it is you're trying to update or who it is that you're trying to mail. So we've kind of just built a more specific UI around mass updates rather than just having them function from the list views. I think it's going to be nice to have. Might not always be clear to people how to do this before this update by applying the like left-hand side filters and kind of making your selections that way. So making it
Yeah.
a little bit more explicit, like how the proper way to do these updates are, is a nice feature addition.
Yeah, it's good. It always throws us off though because we're so used to things being in very particular places and we're flying around
Yeah.
like, oh, it changed. What are we
Yeah.
going to do? And they do mean not mass duplicate UI enhancements, but it is deduplication. So that'd be cool to mass duplicate your entire database. Just make it like,
Yeah, most people are trying to go the opposite direction, but Zoho being avant-garde, they've got to let you go both ways.
yep. And Zoho WorkDrive has added something they're calling scribbles. Basically, this is if you have a tablet, you can scribble on it and then add that. It's a new document form. So where you would have an Excel spreadsheet, you would have a writer document, you would have a PowerPoint, you're now going to have a scribble and basically just scribble stuff away here. Get your creative juices flowing, as they say. I thought this was going to be, they've already done this where you can annotate PDFs and those kind of things.
Yeah,
A couple weeks ago, they rolled that
that's
out,
more
right? You can do
recent. Yeah, that's
documents.
pretty recent.
Yeah. So now you can draw stuff. So if you just want to make some they're kind of showing someone doing massive artwork on here, which is pretty
Mhm.
cool. But I think your average person is just going to kind of whiteboard it out, right? They've got
Yeah,
an
get a
idea.
flow chart go in or kind of do some of those
Yeah.
standard mockups, kind of
Yeah.
brainstorming sessions. I could see that being pretty cool here, especially if you're using it on your iPad, maybe screencast it up to a TV during a meeting, so you're kind of working on stuff together. Pretty
Yep.
cool little update. I mean, it's one of those why nots. No one's gonna not choose WorkDrive because it doesn't have this, but it is just a pretty cool little thing to add if you'd like to use it. And it looks as well like they've added some widgets for iOS as well here down at the
Yep.
tail end, basically giving you the ability to add some of those to your mobile device.
It's kinda nice. You can use the camera widget to take pictures and, sync them directly to WorkDrive. Quick search widget, and then you can, open a window instantly and add your completed file to WorkDrive account with the upload widget. So they've got some really nice widgets. I use widgets on my iPhone all the time. They're handy, you know?
I've not
I mean,
installed one.
you know what? I always forget about them, then accidentally I, like, swipe over too far on my home screen, and I
Mm,
get into the
they all
widget
appear.
page. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, 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 they're nice though." I just gotta remember they're there, and then you can use them. So, also in the news, Frost and Sullivan has, recognized Zoho as a growth and innovation leader in the global cloud meetings and team collaboration services. They're calling out Zoho Meeting and Click here as well. Some interesting stats here, Tyler, about Zoho's growth. Um, 70 million customers in more than 150 countries, and they experienced a general 700% increase in new daily users of its online meeting and team collaboration services in the first quarter of 2020. That's when COVID hit,
Yeah,
right?
and I think that's when they put
Um,
out was it remotely. They put out that
yeah,
tool remotely that I think was free for like 3 to 6 months, and it had meetings, the Office suite. I think it had Click and Connect. They've also
yeah,
got Workerly, which is a super low priced option for covering a whole lot of bases, and that includes meeting as well. So, and I mean, even though we have our little nitpicky issues with meetings around like recording quality and a few things there, I mean, it absolutely is going to get the job done for you if, it's not a core thing that you need, those super high quality audio, 1080p or 4K screen recording. Most people don't need that stuff. And so if you don't, it's an absolutely great tool to use at a really good price point because Zoom and GoToMeeting and what's it, Citrix, I mean, they're not cheap, right, to
yeah,
turn those on. And Zoho Meeting is super affordable.
yeah. And we always talk about Click. Click is best in
It's
class.
great.
Great application. Great
Fantastic.
application. So it's good there. So two things about figures, where figures can be this meeting. So this was a 700% increase in Click and Meeting, or whereas Click had a 225% daily increase and online meetings increased by 300%. But this was in the first quarter of 2020. So my
Mhm.
guess is we're measuring a 15-day period here because
Mhm.
correct me if I'm wrong, but it was March 15th, right? When the world shut
Yep.
down? Okay.
Just about.
So there's that. And then, Tyler, you're an analytics guy. I'm going to open this up in a new window. I want to open this. Can I open this image up in a new tab? Explain the Frost and Sullivan radar image for me here. I'm going to blow this up a
So
little
a
bit
little
for you.
blurry there. Let
Um,
me see. I'll go directly to it. It's a little
I
blurry
got
on
it
my
blown up.
side.
For our viewers at home, though, in God's name, what is what does it mean? I just
I would think something along the lines of maybe innovation index is features added, growth index is like user count. And I guess you want to be, I mean, the top right would be the best, I would think. So Microsoft, Zoom, Zoho getting awards being in the middle makes me think maybe that's where you want to be. But I would have
wow.
to think that you want more innovation. So you'd want to be further to the right and you want more growth, right? So you want to be more towards the top. Um, Kind of interesting. People definitely get creative with some of these axes graphs. I'd be interested to
Yeah.
see the data library, right? Data dictionary that they're working on this, just to understand how they're ranking innovation and growth. Given where it's at on this radar, I'm surprised that it's a innovation and growth leader. It would look like there are a lot of options that are higher up.
All right. Well, that's where
Maybe
I
we're
say
just
I can't be reading this thing properly. So I have no idea what it means. All I know, if I'm an air traffic controller, I got a lot of traffic bunched up, man. I need to move some of it off onto other parts of the screen. Oh my God. All right. And with that, one more bit of news, and that is that Sridhar Vimbu says productivity is higher as Zoho offices reopen. So, while we just talked about the whole thing about how the remote working is great and you have all of those options, productivity is higher when we meet face to face. That is now quite clear. Our offices are starting to be full. So,
be
there you
interested
go.
about comparing this to a similar type of company in the US where internet infrastructure is more consistent. I would think for some of their team, because they open some of these offices in pretty rural areas where their employees might not have access to as good of internet at their house. So I wonder if you were to level out internet connection quality between the office and between their work from home employees, how this would stack up. Being on slow internet and working at a tech company will surely affect your productivity. So I would imagine for those that maybe don't have as good of connections, this would surely make a big difference. But I would be curious, right? If you could take this and do a similar comparison for like a US SaaS company with, where their employees are more likely to already have good internet, how it would stack up.
Yeah. Some interesting stats in here as well. I guess the software firm Ivanti said 71% of employees said they would prefer working from home to getting a promotion, while 42% said they would appreciate a hybrid model, and only 13% of respondents said they wanted to come back to the office permanently. Um, they talk a little bit about the damage, the impact on children, and real bonds and all that kind of stuff. It's interesting. You came out and visited what, last week, 2 weeks ago?
So
You
yeah,
were
about
out
2 weeks,
2 weeks
2 weeks
ago,
back.
and I don't know. It's one of those weird things. It wasn't like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in forever.
Yeah.
It was like I picked you up at the airport. I was with because we're looking at each other all day long. I do think that things like Click and Zoom, they truly can give you that sense that you know, you're more collaborative and doing things. We do it all the time. 4 or 5 people on a call, 6 people on a call is daily,
Yep.
right? And I know maybe it's not the same as all sitting around a conference room with our coffee and shooting the shit, but I think it comes close to get it done. I don't have to put any pants on. That's always helpful, you know. All right, and that is going to
Nominate
wrap
for
up with
Fool's
no. Sorry, guys. All right, yeah. With that, Tyler, let's talk about our implementation of the week.
Alrighty, so this was kind of a fun one here that we did for a client pretty recently. This is around actually dropping in logos dynamically into a generated proposal. So we do proposal generation in just about every way, shape, and form for clients. Pretty much got it down to a science in the way we use CRM, the mail merge, WorkDrive, Zoho Sign to kind of build a workflow there. But this time we got a request specifically around getting a client logo into the document dynamically without the rep having to go ahead and manually add it. So the team put together a pretty clever solution here. Basically, what they found is that to get a image dynamically embedded into a proposal, it has to be a link. So you can't drop like an image file. It has to be hosted at some type of publicly available download link or view link. So what the team did is they figured out that, we can trigger a workflow when an image is added as like a record image for let's say an account. And so what the team did is when our client adds the logo to the account record, it will automatically create a WorkDrive folder for that account. It will load the logo into that account, and then it will grab a public URL version of that logo from WorkDrive and bring it back to that account for future usage in merge documents. So that now we have this publicly accessible URL that points directly to that record image with the proper kind of pixel ratio. And we can just use that to pre-populate any type of image field in a mail merge document going forward. So pretty much the client just has to load in the logo the first time. And then any future document generations can always just reference that publicly available link and pull in that image dynamically to the document.
Wow, that's some holy grail stuff there, Tyler.
It is. It's really slick. Things. I mean, it's, you do still have to put the logo somewhere, right? So you do have to go out and you gotta grab it. You got to attach to the CRM under that record image. But then from there, you are pretty much set, and any future proposal can just include that logo dynamically.
So are you attaching it as a file, or are you attaching it as the featured image?
You put it in the record image, right? So you know how like in an account, they have the little icon in the top right. You put it in there, and that can actually trigger a workflow to then load it to WorkDrive and bring back the public URL. I'll use a term that one of our developers, Lucas, he's used this term before. This was a pure force of will implementation. Purely through force of will, they forced this one to work by kind of leveraging WorkDrive and the fact that it's so easy to get those different URLs from files once they've been uploaded there.
That's interesting. We have a real estate client that I think is going to be coming on board here shortly, and they have inside CRM just all. Actually, this is the one they did this for. That's what this is. Yes.
This is a different one. This isn't a real estate client.
It is, because we have a real estate. We have a real estate client that basically has listings, and on all of their listings, they're using the record image of the house, and they put up a really high profile image there. And then they want to basically be able to pull that into a dynamic document where they're basically going to be able to pull that image in. So you're going to use this force of will come in handy yet one more time. So good stuff. All right. And with that, let's talk about some code share. What has Greg done for us this week?
So yeah, this is one that we do pretty often when we are, especially when we're working with WorkDrive, but there's plenty of other use cases for this as well. In essence, this is a way in your code to add a link under the attachment section of a CRM record. So here, we kind of gave it the name of WorkDrive URL, kind of showing our cards. Normally we're doing this with WorkDrive. You could hit an API and grab a Dropbox link, grab a Google Drive link, or, any link at all. This method is basically a way to get all those links organized. You have to put them into a little list parameter, and then you make an API call to attach those as links just directly to the record. So this is kind of the bit of code here. If you look at the code share that you would put at the end, right? So your whole function up above this is going to be doing what it needs to do, getting those links, assigning them clear names. And then down here at the bottom, you can use this to add one or more links directly to the document or the record that you're working with. We do this a lot, particularly because the CRM file storage is not really a good price. So if you're working a lot with PDFs, or let's say you have PDFs that have lots of images in them and are kind of heavier, you don't want to be paying Zoho's rates for upgrading your CRM file storage. You want to be parking those documents outside of Zoho and then referencing them, or outside of the CRM, I should say, and then referencing them in the relevant records. So we find ourselves doing this a lot, which is why we decided to kind of put out the structure here for people to take a look at.
Good stuff. And that is over on clubzenatta.com. If you haven't been over to Club Zenatta, just go to club.zenatta.com or head over to zenatta.com and log into the website. You can register, you sign in. We have all sorts of forms. We've been spending a lot of time revamping this. We're now well over 200 plus members. Got John Mark in here talking to somebody about Z portals. Great application. All the questions that come in, all that stuff ends up here. We've got our general discussion, the code share form. Greg's posted a ton of stuff there for you to look at. We got our Q&A. Go in there, drop us questions during the week. We'll get to you there. And also we move the news over here. So all the really big news that happens daily in Zoho, the stuff we cover on this show ends up over here in Zoho News. So you can check that out as well. Great job, team. Things are really moving along here. We're going to add I think we're adding chat if we haven't already. So if you want to chat with some people in here and have direct communications, but this is really starting to take off. And I'm really, really, really pleased with that. So with that, Tyler, let us get to our read of the week. All right. So this is from the Zapier blog, why I schedule my emails and you should too, under productivity tips. Just some nice stuff here. Why you should schedule emails for later. Well, maybe you changed your mind. So I think this is probably ex-girlfriend kind of stuff here, but you never know. You can schedule them for 5-10 minutes out. You can schedule them for the next day. There's all those kind of things, but just some good email tips. You can work whatever hours you want. I mean, I do find if I'm writing an email at 8-9 o'clock at night, I like to schedule it for the next morning. Zoho does a really nice job of this. If you're writing the email in Zoho, it says the best time to send this email is. And it gives you an idea of when it thinks the best time for you to send that email is. So anyway, nice little blog over here on Zapier. It kind of goes on and on. A lot of good stuff. And anything jump out at you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's big to do, especially for internal stuff as well. I mean, even external and when you're emailing your clients, you don't want to ping people at bad times. For example, I know that I'm on East Coast time. A lot of my team is on Pacific time. So if I need to send out an email that's going to ping one of my team members, I'm going to schedule it to go out at maybe 9 a.m. Pacific, just to make sure you're not kind of bothering people outside of work hours. Pretty powerful tool. It does bring me to one little feature request of Click that I've always wished I had, which was scheduling messages in Click. Because I'll get ideas at 9, 10 at night. I'll want to message someone, but I don't want to buzz them. So I'll have to write the message into Click and then remember to send it the next morning. But yeah, I mean, I think this stuff is important, especially in the remote work world. You do want to be sensitive of people's times, especially if you are someone who might work at odd hours of the day. You want to make sure that you're being sensitive of letting people unplug and kind of turn off.
All right. And with that, let's see what's happening over at Zenatta. What's going on at Zenatta? Ready? Never gets old, buddy. All right. We've got a new blog, 6 SOPs, standard operating procedures your business should consider. As a long form read we've done over here. Product, service, and inventory. We're talking about product planning, service planning, inventory planning, employee onboarding and offboarding. This is one we've been working on. It's all onboarding, Tyler. We don't have any offboarding, but these things, getting all these things in order and written down and having nice procedures, you never miss anything that goes on. Same thing with client onboarding and offboarding. This is something we work on daily on the onboarding side of things, right? Trying to make it smoother for our clients, smoother for us, like nothing drop through the cracks. Customer feedback, of course, your marketing activities, financial management. All these tie in, financial management, all in books, you can develop them there. Your marketing activities, Zoho Social, the others, customer service feedback. You can set up a lot of these things in Zoho Desk, client onboarding and offboarding. I mean, for us, we built an entire custom creator app to manage all of this kind of stuff. Employee onboarding, Zoho People handles all of that exceptionally well. And then, of course, Zoho Inventory for products and all those kind of things. But a nice long form article. We don't really mention any products in here, but you kind of get the idea.
Yeah, it's a great write-up by the team.
Yeah, really, really nice. And with that, let's get to our pick of the week.
Wow, you timed that perfectly. You said pick like right as it hit that first little I don't know, that first little click. I don't know what we call those.
I'm a pro, man. I'm a pro. That's all there is to it. All right, our pick of the week is a product called Figma. And Tyler and I will fully confess we know very little about this product, but our marketing team, our web team, our design team, they swear by this product. It is a tool that basically allows you to basically do design, share it with customers. So the examples they were giving us earlier is you could basically build out all the pages on a website in this kind of thing, just kind of lay them all out as design and then show them to the client and get their design changes on the fly. It's not even a website, but it kind of looks like it is, right? Just kind of going through
Mhm.
it. Um, you know, all sorts of things. I don't know. Is there anything you remember and what they were talking about that this thing
Yeah, I
does?
mean, I think the big thing is that, you can basically build the full layout of a website within Figma, including all of the like links that are going to go to different sections. But you can do that before you actually jump in and start building your HTML and your CSS and all those things that take a lot more time. So it's a tool that allows the team to be pretty efficient around, getting these designs in front of clients before we've started to do the custom code or custom build out, getting the approval and then working it from there. I do also believe that it can spit out some HTML out of the document, or HTML and CSS as well, to kind of streamline some of the development steps. But the big one is just being able to very accurately design what the website's going to look like before you actually start making any changes, so that you're doing those approval cycles early rather than late.
Yeah. And it's also got, I mean, Freddie was also mentioning that, he actually took someone's logo into here and animated it. So it's got some like Adobe functionality to it as well. So there's some really interesting things you can do with it. Check it out. All I can tell you is our team raves about it. So if you're in design, do any of this kind of stuff, it's a lot can be done here. So evidently a great application. And we're paying for it, so I hope it's good, Tyler. And with that, let's get over to our tip of the week. All right. So, Tyler, over on our YouTube channel, you have done a video that is basically how to set up an estimate for digital signatures for Zoho books. Earlier, I was talking about, I said, what are you going to say about this? And you said the title says it all. So, is that it? There's nothing for you to say?
Yeah, there's not too much. I mean, it's pretty quick and painless. Essentially within Zoho Books, you're able to set things up such that an invoice, or pardon me, an estimate can be signed for approval by the customer. You might want to do that in cases where you're working with large estimates or large companies where your client might want accountability of who actually approved a certain estimate to go through. So in the video, we walk through how to set up the base integration, what it's going to look like when you're sending it out. And then I actually flip over to my inbox and show what the customer experience would be like when they receive that estimate for signature. So kind of a quick one, very down and dirty, just straight to the actual steps you need to take to configure this. But no coding required, pretty much just flicking through the menus and getting everything turned on.
Excellent. And as always on our YouTube channel, you will find all of the videos that we do on a, weekly basis. We did we got CRM Zen Show. We got the tip of the week. All of our webinars are there. Everything's there. Check it out. We've got it all there, and we're taking a look at as well. One thing I want to mention, kind of before we move on to the Q&A, and we forgot to mention this earlier, but as far as tips of the week are going, over at Zenatta.com, we are in the process of, by the way, do you love the freeze frame on my face there? I'm just kind of like, it's a new video. We're completely redoing our resources library now. And so the interesting thing about this is a work in progress. And I think the only one that's kind of 80% done is the CRM. But we used to keep all the resources down at the bottom. Maybe they were a little hard to find. People kind of have to go through them. But the team is really, really cleaning this up. So now you've got all the resources listed here for CRM. And then we've broken the videos down into getting started, how to basics, how to advanced, email merge, workflows, blueprints, automation, user roles, permission, security settings, extensions and integration. Oh, so I said it's a work in progress. More user role security settings. Anyway, we've moved the pricing down here a bit. I think we're going to make it's a lot cleaner. across the board. All of our blog articles will still be in here as well. And our PDF guides, we've just kind of got them all listed so you can kind of quickly find what you're looking for. You can still search for them. But it's going to be a big project. We're constantly working on this. We've got all these different applications. There's just, was there 70 applications now? By the way,
50 something.
Tyler, I can't go ahead.
I think it's 50 something now. It's like 55 maybe.
All right, well, I can't share this but Wayne found a link that takes you to icons that's not publicly shared. You can't even Google it. It won't even come up in a Google search. And there were probably a dozen new icons for new products in there.
Oh,
And
no.
we're kind of like, there's a lot on the way. Now, they might roll out over time. And some of them actually, if you use the standard Zenatta, URL structure, you actually were able to get to a beta site on them. So there's some crazy stuff there, but I don't think we can really talk about it right now. But anyway, cool stuff anyway. All right. And with that, Tyler, let's get to our questions and answers. All right, Sebastian J, after watching the Zoho Forms tutorial on setting up UTM tracking with Zoho Forms, asks if it's also available in Zoho Surveys. He can't find it. Gets leads via forms, but most of them are via surveys. Thank you. Unfortunately, Sebastian, it's not set up that way. It is really only set up for using Zoho Forms for that kind of thing. You can't do that kind of tracking. And Tyler, we were talking earlier, you can't really even grab fields, and you can't even pre-populate data in forms.
The problem is that if you had like a Zoho survey embedded on a website, then you need something on your site that's able to grab the parameters from the URL and kind of fill them into the form. And that little code snippet is only available inside of Zoho Forms. So really anything, if you're doing like on-page lead capture, you should probably move things over to Zoho Forms if the UTM tracking is really important for you. It's just going to work better there.
All right, next question. By the way, I like what the team has done with our Q&A here, Tyler. It's kind of nifty, huh? We've cleaned this up a lot. Steven Sandor asks, hey, also on the same thing. Thanks, Wayne. I appreciate the info. I've made multiple forms on my website for different services and contacted by creating a section to collect the UTM information for each form. Does it mean I have to create a section for each form, or will each form info be collected separately? Thanks, Steve. We didn't know the answer. Did Wayne get back to us on this?
Yeah, so essentially you will need to set up the UTM tracking for each form. You have to turn it on under the share settings and map the fields to the CRM. But the code snippet on your site that you have to embed to get the fields is going to work with every Zoho form. So you just need to put the code embed the one time on, I think, the footer of all your pages. But you do need to turn on UTM tracking and map the fields for each individual form that you're using.
All right. Next question. After watching the CRM full product tutorial overview 2022, Callista asks, I was just wondering, does Zoho record calls? Well, it depends, Callista. Depends on what VoIP system you're using. If you're using Ring Central, you can set that to record calls. It used to, I believe, save them to the CRM. It does not do that anymore. It creates a link to the CRM now. There have been some changes on that lately, but it's really going to depend on your VoIP system that you're using, and if you're setting on-call recording and you've got it on the back end. Anything you add to that, Tyler?
Yeah, any of the VoIP systems that do integrate with Zoho are going to record like the call record, right? A call happened at this time for this phone number. It took this long, right? Here's some notes about the call. The audio recordings themselves, like Brett mentioned, Ring Central can add a URL that points over to their platform to review the recording. I don't know about a lot of the others and their ability to do that, but we do know Ring Central will capture that for you and give you a link.
All righty, next question. All right, Shauna, after watching the Zoho campaigns synchronizing lists with Zoho CRM tutorial 2021, Can you do a sync from a tag? I have a tag as healthcare in leads, accounts, and contacts. Can I do a sync with that? And I think what we're talking about here is, can she create a custom view with a tag and then sync it? And the answer is yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can absolutely make your custom view, probably similar to how we had in that video. Just base it on that tag and then sync them in accordingly. I also do believe the tag is a field that you can map in the CRM campaigns integration. So if you wanted to just pull over the tags kind of in bulk and then create segments on the campaign side, you'd be able to do that as well.
I'm going to do Larry King here now. Next question. Anybody remember that? Anybody remember Larry King? From Dubuque, Iowa. Next question. What's your question, sir? All right. Shauna also asks, watching the same video. Oh, great video. Please, one question. I have already configured workflows in CRM in order to, depending on the phase the lead is in, a specific email is sent from there. How would I analyze those emails with campaigns? Or do I have the workflows again, but directly in campaigns? Tyler, share the bad news.
Yeah, so the CRM emails are not going to report through Zoho campaigns. You can pull some reports from under the reports kind of tab in CRM about those emails and how effective they are. They are also adding the CRM emails to the analytics sync within, I think, about the next quarter. That'll open up the door to doing a lot more reporting on those. But right now, you wouldn't be able to report on those CRM emails inside of campaigns. So if you really like that reporting, or if you're trying to join all your different email reports together, you might need to move them over to some campaigns workflows.
All right. And then we have a question from CMR. You obviously being familiar with Zoho's tendencies for quite some time now, is it possible that the Zoho One $37 rate is designed to get as many in the ecosystem, then later raise rates when they're hooked? By the way, awesome review as we watched our Zoho One full product tutorial 2022. No, I mean, anything is possible, but it's just not how Zoho operates. So the original rollout of Zoho in 2019, 18,
Zoho One.
Zoho One,
We're talking Zoho
17.
One.
Yeah,
It was
Zoho
early.
One. Yeah, 17 or 18. So look, we'll say 5 years, 4 or 5 years. It was $30 per user actually $35 per user per month. Is that correct? And then $360
Yeah.
if you paid for the year, right?
Yep.
It's currently now $45 per user per month, $37 if you pay annually. So it was about a 15% increase across the board. It wasn't just for Zoho One, it was for all their products across the board. They did a rate increase, and it was their first rate increase in forever. I mean, just forever across their products. They thought about it. They actually got feedback from partners. They really, really did a really nice job on rolling out that rate increase. They also allowed
gave a
people to
long grace period for existing customers.
long grace period. And also, if you were an existing customer and you were paying monthly, you could flip to annual at the legacy rate for one more year, all the way up to was it January 17th this year?
Yeah, I think
Something
so.
like
Maybe.
that. Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, anyway, it's just, they did a nice job with it. I don't think that's something you have to worry about. I mean, the worry here would be that Zoho goes full Salesforce on you, right? And then they go from that to now it's $120 per user per month. I just don't ever see that happening. It's not in their model.
I
It's
mean,
not the way they work.
you might see those little like 8 to 10% price increases every 4 or 5 years. That's pretty much been the only price increase we've seen from there. Occasionally, if you're like a super power user, you might have to spend a little bit more to get extra campaign subscribers, or if you're pulling some crazy data in analytics, you might need to bump your row count a little bit. So if you were to go all in on Zoho One, you'd want to make sure you look at some of the add-ons that you might need. Even those are going to be, units of magnitude cheaper than on any other platform. One of Zoho's like core corporate values is to leave money on the table. When they did their big 25th anniversary thing and kind of restated their values, that stuck out to me. And I think their behavior generally is in line with that. They already could be charging more for Zoho One and it would still be a fantastic deal. And they're not. So far, we don't have any reason to believe that it's kind of like a bait and switch. I think they're very committed to kind of staying on the path that they're at when it comes to pricing.
All right. And Alexander asks, after watching the Zoho Books tutorial on how to set up an estimate for digital signatures for Zoho Books, um, any solution for getting the client to sign an invoice? That's something many companies need, but I've noticed is missing from the default integration.
So
And
unfortunately,
basically,
they don't do signing. They don't do customer signing on the invoices. They'll do them on the estimates. I think Zoho's rationale for this is that the estimate would be used to get that initial approval, and the invoice is just the payable, right? And they'll just make a payment against that invoice. That's their rationale. We know use cases always vary, but right now there's no way to have a client sign an invoice. You'd have them sign the estimate, and then once they do that, convert it to an invoice and send that for payment.
yeah, the signature is the money ending up in your account, Alexander. I think once then you know that they've signed. It's kind of a commitment at that point in time. All righty, and then Max Media asks, several months ago, I thought you said you can use Zoho Mail as an IMAP client. I'm going to spare this. He's just having a horrible time getting this to get set up. It's a long question here, but he can't get it to work. Keeps asking him to verify the domain, on and on. Max, I will make a commitment to do a video next week where I will explain how to get this done. It is not it's not hard. It's just very convoluted because when you first launch Zoho Mail, it basically thinks you're using Zoho Mail and you're
Yeah,
using their
it really
services.
wants to set up a domain for you when you're trying to activate it.
Yeah. So it's like you got to have that first, then you can add the other stuff in. So you can kind of fake it out a little bit. But it's a pain. So I'll write a video on how to do that and get you all set up on that. So I'll write a video. Good. I'll do a video on that and we'll get that out. And I promise I'll do that next week. So someone hold me to it. I'll record it on Monday. All right. And then Tom Murphy asked, he is considering using Zoho Desk as a contact center for customer service, at least initially. What are other thoughts on how to achieve various channels of integrations with Zoho Desk? He's considering SMS, chat, virtual agent, email, virtual hold, transfer of our phone agent system. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, so most of those are going to be no problem. SMS, I think they've got Twilio and maybe Ring Central. You want to fact check me on that, but I know they integrate with Twilio for two-way SMS around ticketings. Chat and virtual agent can both be handled through. Well, I guess they have some new tricks up their sleeve now. So I normally would have to say Sales IQ, but they've kind of taken Sales IQ and just embedded it in Desk at this point to manage all of the chat. For virtual agent, you could look at doing a Zobot in Sales IQ, an answer bot in Sales IQ, or their new, what do they call them? Guided conversations in Desk, kind of give you the ability to ask some questions, figure out what they're asking about. Email, that's native. You're just going to forward your support at, set it up as a from address. Really, the only piece that Desk is not going to do for you here is like a virtual hold and transfer for your contact center. You can set up, I'll use Ring Central as an example. I think there are other phone bridge integrations as well. You can have Ring Central basically pop inside of Desk as a call widget when a user's in there. And then if they answer that call, it will log it as a ticket, right? And they can choose whether they do or don't need to make a ticket out of this. But when it comes to the actual, call center, okay, dial in here, press 1 to go this way, or get into a queue where you're going to round robin, you would need to set that up externally and then pipe the data into Desk. So that's really the only piece here that I would say that it's not going to handle kind of natively or with like a quick little plugin. You would need to build the hold and transfer externally and then pipe in the tickets.
Yeah, I would say you also might want to take a look on that as well. You've got the Ring Central, but there's another one, Ozone Tel. Also has a fantastic call center voice over IP integration with Desk, and they're kind of like real contact center. I mean, you can turn Ring Central into a contact center. It's some additional fees and some additional fees. Ozone Tel does a nice job with that as well. We've implemented it a few times for that. Mostly it's Ring Central, like you said, Tyler, but that is another one I think would be worth taking a look at. All right. Robert McBain asked, I'm looking for some new workstations for our showroom, and I'm wondering, has anyone experienced running Zoho One apps on Chrome OS? It's beautiful. Yeah, Chromebooks are great. Chrome boxes are great. It works perfectly fine. If you're doing telephony, just make sure you choose a telephony service that basically has a complete, web-based Chrome extension that
Mhm.
can handle all of your
Yeah, some of
telephony
them
needs.
that you're highlighting a good thing. Some voice over IP apps work much better if you have an application locally on your PC. So that'd be the only thing to really be on the lookout for is if voice over IP is important, make sure you pick one that can be totally managed through like a plugin, which most of them can, right? You would just need
Nowadays.
to be particular about how you set that up to make sure you're not relying on a local application.
Yeah. All right, and over in the chat room, we've got a question from Artie Beetle. Are proposals the same as quotes in Zoho?
Not the way that we use them. Good question. Really good question, actually, around terminology. So, generally speaking, when we're talking about a quote, we'd be thinking about like a book's estimate or like the CRM quote where you're putting in some like products into a table, right? You've got the billing address, the customer name, but it's that standard kind of template that would go out just listing out line items. When we're talking about proposals, it's a lot of like more long form written stuff. Now, it can also include a product table, but it would be running through like a mail merge through Writer. You're adding some custom text, maybe some legalese, a place to sign it. Whereas the quote is more of that like line items and key customer information that you would send out.
All right, buddy. That is going to wrap up our show. We want to thank everybody so much for listening. If you have any questions or comments, head over to clubzenatta.com, put them in that question and comment field, or head over to zenatta.com for all of our resources and news.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes of the show, as well as links to all the stories we discussed today. As always, we'd love if you would follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us here on YouTube, as well as on your choice of podcast service. We'll see you next Friday.